Kyle Busch is leading here on lap number 44 of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Challenge at Texas Motor Speedway. Update you quickly on the starting parks. We now have a total of 9 out of the race. Mark Day, Kenny Hendrick, Chase Miller, Joe Nemechek, Danny O'Quinn have been added to the list. Busch's lead is just about 4 seconds over Kevin Harvick. Then it's Casey Kane back in third, Brad Keselowski fourth, Matt Kenseth is fifth, David Ragan sixth, and Mike Bliss is in seventh. Drop back a little bit further and you see Bobby Hillin Jr. That's right. Bobby is back out racing. Remember when he won at Talladega? It's been a while.
I remember. Yep, 1986.
I think 22 years old at the time, 5th youngest driver ever. Jamie, you got more?
Well, he was called the original young gun. He was young when young wasn't a popular thing in this sport, but he retired back in 2000, guys. But he's from Texas, and now he's operating 2 companies that are now sponsoring this car. He had the itch to get back out here, so he worked a deal with the 81 car. And right now, guys, he has his hands full. He can't hear his spotter at all.
That's not good. He's running in 30th at this point. On the left side of your screen, you can see it's David Ragan and Mike Bliss. They're battling it out for 6th. They go around Kevin Conway in the 26th. Ragan, of course, talked to him yesterday before qualifying. He was talking about he'd love to do about 20 of these races next year, but you know, they've still got a lot of questions, a lot of balls up in the air as far as what he's going to be doing in the Nationwide Series.
Yeah, and it all kind of boils down to sponsorship. If they could get sponsorship on these cars, I would assume you'd see him on a lot more races.
Bliss trying to reel him back in. David right now with about a half a second lead. As Ragan in 6th, Mike Bliss in 7th, and here he comes. He's starting to close on him.
Yeah, we've seen this happen a couple of times, guys. Drivers run the car down in front of them, and then they get there, and it's that buffer of air that just won't let them get up there and make that pass. See the 6 car pretty loose there. Shannon?
Well, David Ragan working with Dan Stillman, formerly Carl Edwards crew chief, for the first time this week. And I spoke with Stillman before the race. He said everything has been very smooth. He said this is a great track for David Ragan, so getting to know his setup style has been very easy. And he said as far as communication, as long as you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answers. And right now, he's finding out that David Ragan thinks the car is just a little bit tight in traffic. But Ragan, one of those drivers who is making that high line work early.
And just as you were finishing up, Shannon, you saw the 58 of Josh Wise. He pulled down on the pit lane. Not scheduled to be a starting park, so they might have a problem on that car. We'll keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, let's check in on the battle with Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane. That is 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, over the last few laps, this 10 car has really been making up some ground on Kevin Harvick. Looks like he's got a really good long-range setup here, long-run setup.
You know, we were talking about tires from the very beginning of the day, how abrasive this track can be. Look at the drop-off.
Yeah, that's just from the tire wear. You see that 178.3 on Kyle Busch on lap 2. He's all the way down to 171.3. That's 7 miles an hour. That's a good bit of speed that these tires lose over the course of a run.
Dave, you've got more on this situation?
Yeah, you guys were talking earlier about Kevin Harvick being patient in traffic. One of the reasons is he's got such a great race car. Very balanced, they talked about. Ernie Cope told me this morning, the crew chief, very balanced race car. In fact, some teams were experiencing some cording of the tires, some wearing out sooner than maybe they should during the course of practice this weekend. This was not one of those cars. All the way around, the rubber looked good, and they were able to maintain that balance. Interestingly, that's where Kevin wants to go for adjustments on the first stop. He wants to take the air pressures down on all 4 tires.
Well, you saw from Harvick's onboard the 58 of Josh Wise coming back out onto the track from pit lane. He was in for a regular stop, although a little bit earlier than we anticipated, and everybody else still has several laps to go. Right now, 4.3 seconds in front of everybody else is Kyle Busch. You want to see how far up the road that is? There you go. Jamie?
Marty, you talked about how many laps he's led this year. He's led over 40% of the laps raced. Pretty incredible stat there. Now he continues to check out, but it's interesting what's happening with these cars. You guys were talking about the tires falling off, and he said he was lacking a lot of front grip and right rear grip, but he said, but now the right rear feels pretty good. It has settled down, so he just needs some front grip, and that's what they're looking to change on the first stop.
Well, you mentioned 40% for him. How about the fact that between Roush Fenway and Joe Gibbs Racing, these teams have led 69% of the laps and won 21 of the 32 races. Kyle Busch right now out in front easily, and last night he made it look easy again. That is Ron Hornaday, the soon-to-be champion in the Truck Series, as he gets past and a little rubbing and racing, and he takes his 5th straight win in a truck.
On ESPN's Monday Night Football this week, a great matchup between a couple of top contenders, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. Big Ben and Hines Ward leading the streaking Steelers. Of course, the Denver defense has helped the Broncos to that 6-1 start. Steelers-Broncos, ESPN's Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern Time. Caution-free through 1/4 of the distance in this afternoon's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Texas Motor Speedway, Kyle Busch has led since lap number 11 on. We've just completed lap number 50 now, and we're closing in on the first set of pit stops. Kyle about to lap the 19th place car, Stephen Wallace, in the 66. One of the guys who probably welcome a chance to get onto pit road. From the pit studio with Rusty and Brad. So far, Brad, your numbers are adding up on Kyle.
Yeah, I'd like to actually change my number if I could.
Oh, here we go.
Get it on up towards Rusty's number of 180 or so. But yeah, he's really doing a good job. But if you look at the speeds through the top 20 teams, everybody's around the same speed, basically. So it shows how much these tires have fallen off. It'll be interesting, Rusty, after we come in and get these 4 fresh tires to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed right now that this thing has run caution-free this long. We're expecting stops just any time now, probably about 4 or 5 more laps. But I've noticed that the top side of the racetrack has not come in yet. It's still kind of gray up there, and this track notoriously late in the race, they run way high up against the wall. I expect that to happen later on.
Now, Carl Edwards will be a guy who will welcome a chance to get onto pit road. Remember, Carl had to start at the back of this field after the team found a problem with one of the shock absorbers this morning. Made the adjustment. The post-impound adjustment meant they had to go to the back. Carl got up to about 17th spot in the opening laps, then kind of stalled out. Here's what he's saying.
Yeah, my right front's real numb into the corner, you know, just feels like just shattering over the pavement. And then I get to the center, and once the nose gets down, it turns pretty well. The farther I get around the exit, the better it turns. It's neutral off.